Who knows what Jay-Z, J.K. Rowling, Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey all have in common? Okay, I will tell you then. They have all overcome failure in one shape or form to go on to gain success in their respective careers. Welcome to My Perfect Failure. Join us as we delve into the world of our perfect failures. We will interview, explore, and discuss how our perfect failures can lead us to success. Join us and tune in.
Welcome everybody to another episode of My Perfect Failure. Today, I'm super excited because I have another amazing guest for you. So my guest today is the definitive voice in millennial finance, specializing in strategies for beating today's tough economic challenges. She is the author of an award-winning best-selling new book, The 5-Day Job Search, which helps young professionals get out of student loan debt while finding the ideal job. With more than 1 million views on YouTube, her witty approach to tough talk sets her apart from the others. So a very, 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 very warm welcome to My Perfect Failure, Annie Margarita Yang. How are you, Annie?
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on My Perfect Failure. Really excited
I'm
to be here today.
excited to have you as a guest on My Perfect Failure. Researching you, very inspirational. A lot of the things you've done, a lot of the things that you're doing, and I guess a lot of things you will be doing in the future. So it'd be amazing to capture some of that. You know where I was keen to start? Researching you, so really, really, again, inspiring stuff. But I was keen to sort of tap into you. Where does the drive, where does the work ethic come from? Does it come from your family? Where does all that come from?
I think a lot of it actually comes from my mom because she's an immigrant from China, and my parents came here to the United States with only $400 in their pocket.
Wow.
So it's definitely that child of immigrants kind of like vibe there because, you know, we have to hustle to really get ahead, especially because my mom only got a 6th grade education and she couldn't speak English when she arrived. So growing up, I think the role model watching her go out to work and earn money and do whatever she can so that we can have a good life here in the United States is a lot of where my work ethic comes from.
Okay. And you're US based, right?
I'm US based.
Record. Yeah. Okay. So kudos to your mum and your parents to arriving in the States with, you say, $400?
Yes, $400.
Wow, what can top that? Arriving in the country with $400. And at that time, so did they speak any English at that time?
My dad had a college education in China, so he could speak a little English, but definitely could read and write English. He ended up having to get another college degree here, an associate's degree in the United States, so he could work for the MTA, which is like the train station in New York City. But my mom, she was here just like, when she came here, she was sewing clothes at the factory for 25 cents a piece.
Wow. It's inspirational when you hear these stories about the challenges, the sacrifice that people overcome, particularly first, I guess, your parents, and then you arrive in the world. So you've got inspiration right there. I wanted to kind of capture where your work ethic came from and your ability to navigate challenges. Clearly, your mum, your parents play a pivotal role in that space. So it brings me on a little bit. So again, having researched you, you talk a little bit about going, obviously, college, I'm not sure what the difference is, but differences in the school system to the UK and to the US. But I read somewhere when you were at school and your, I guess, family and your parents were pushing for you to go to college, that you kind of had a hunch that probably wasn't the immediate route for you, and you, I guess, stuck to your gun. So can you talk a little bit about that and maybe the pressure that was put on you from a good place, from a good perspective, but why your intuition told you actually maybe this isn't the exact route for me?
Yeah, like when I was about 16, that's the time when people start thinking about what they want to do for college, where they want to go, what do they want to do for their life. And I was thinking about this question because adults keep asking, well, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? And I was like, well, but I've been in school my whole life. I'm a straight A student. I can definitely study, and test well. But This question, I don't know the answer because I've literally only been going to school my whole life. I have some hobbies, but my parents always said, you can't make a living playing guitar or you can't make a living as a singer. So, okay, what am I to do if I don't know what I enjoy and I'm told the things that I do enjoy, I can't make money doing it. So I was just really lost. That's what led me to not go because I was reading in the news back in 2012 that in the United States, people were graduating with $26,000 in student loan debt.
Yeah.
And they were coming out unemployed or underemployed, meaning they're working a job that doesn't need the degree, but they still owe the loans. And that was really scary when I read that in the news. But when I bring this up with teachers or guidance counselors, they were like, oh, don't worry about it. You know, just go undecided and you'll figure it out there and you'll come out, you'll be able to pay it off. And I was like, but the news says the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't understand, you know? My guidance counselor actually, she was the one that was really adamant about pushing me to go to college. She asked me what I was interested in, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm exploring. And one of the things I do know that I like right now at this point in my life is yoga. She's like, well, you could get a degree in yoga for $40,000. I was like, yeah, I don't know about taking on $40,000 in student loan debt for a degree in yoga.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's the same in the UK. That studying, particularly if your parents don't have the resources, and in the majority of cases, parents don't have significant resources to kind of, they might be able to help, but to put your child through 3, 4, 5 years of degree education, college education is a lot. So we have the same challenge with people going to university, going to college, and coming out with debt, and then there isn't an array of job opportunities. So there is a challenge. But what's interesting about the situation is that you ended up going to college in the end, right?
Yes, I did end up going because my boyfriend at the time had done something really terrible. He ended up going to jail. And I had no friends. All the friends I had from high school, they were gone from my life because they were like, we don't want to associate with someone who doesn't go to college. She's gonna be a loser or something. Yeah, I lost all of those friends.
What? Because you didn't go to college? People
I didn't go to college. Well, these friends of mine they ended up going to Harvard or Cornell, NYU. They went to like really, really prestigious institutions, you know? Those are my friends. So
So that, you know, what's interesting around that, I guess there's a lot of things that are interesting around that. Obviously, you and your friends are high performing and so forth, but for you to kind of stick to your guns when you've got everybody, not just your parents or your family and your counselor, you've got your peers as well that are saying to you, what are you doing? Why aren't you going to college?
You mean like, how do I deal with that?
I'm admiring your tenacity, your resilience, your ability to really make sure that you've got the answer to your curiosity, to your question. Because although they were saying go to college, go to university, what they weren't able to do was to square your conundrum about college debt, and also, I guess, isolating what do I want to go to college to do. So they're asking a question but not really giving you a solution. So I guess you stuck to your guns until you got to a point where it kind of made sense.
Yeah, I just stuck with it. I mean, there was this one time when I was thinking maybe my guidance counselor is right. Maybe she does know better, because she did say over and over again, I'm an adult. I know what the real world is like. You're just a kid. So I know how it's like, and you're never going to get ahead. You'll always be a failure in life if you don't go straight to college. She said that's going to be my destiny. She said that like every week. And at one time, she did bring my parents in for a special meeting with her, my mom, my dad, me, and the head of the guidance counseling department as well. And she looked my mom in the eye and said, your daughter is always going to be a failure. What do you think of that? And my mom, she didn't know what to say. She didn't know what to say. She turned to my dad. Oh, no. She didn't know the one thing she said was like, well, we don't know how it works here in the United States. Like, we might know what it takes to be successful in China, but United States is a different country. We don't know what it takes to be actually successful here. My dad, she turned to my dad and said the same thing. And then, what do you think of Annie not going straight to college? And then my dad was like, well, she's 18, you know, like we are not responsible for her after 18. She makes her own decisions as an adult, and, you know, good or bad, she has to suffer the consequences of what she decides to do. I don't control her after she turns 18. And I was already 18 because, like, I was born in January. So I was already 18 before graduation, you know? So, yeah, at that point, my parents didn't do anything. But I did consider. And after that meeting, I was crying in the lunchroom. But I'm like thinking maybe she's right. Maybe I should go. And then, like, I hear this voice in my head that just so loudly said, like, Annie, going to college is going straight to college, not going to college, but going straight to college is going to be the worst decision you ever make in your life. You will always regret this. Don't go. And then I was like, I've never heard of this voice before. It felt right, you know.
It felt powerful, like, clearly.
Yeah, it felt like listening to my heart, and I was like, who is this? What is this? I don't know, but it felt like really strong, and it felt like if I went against what this said, I would really be going down the wrong path that wasn't right for me. So I just decided to listen to that instead.
Yeah. And you know what's really difficult? When we hear that voice inside of our heads, it's difficult to articulate that to people because sometimes it's a feeling, it's a knowing. There's this feeling of clarity, certainty that we get, that we feel, that we have to go with. But when we're trying to explain it to people, sometimes they think, well, what's Annie talking about? What's Paul talking about? He's talking about he's got this inner feeling, this voice that's speaking to them. And I think it happens a lot for entrepreneurs that have something that they really compelled to do. But when you are because it's not maybe because it doesn't go down sort of a linear path, which everybody understands, pretty much everybody else walks that same path. It's kind of difficult to articulate that. So yeah, kudos to you to sticking to your guns. So you did that, and you did say that you decided to go to university. Your boyfriend, something happened to your boyfriend. Maybe you can pick up from that point when you decided to actually go.
Yeah, I had a boyfriend. He did something really terrible. He ended up going to jail. And I wasn't allowed to talk to him by law anymore. So we broke up in that manner. And then he was like my only friend or anyone special, like really close to me at that time in my life because I lost all my friends.
Yeah.
So I was so like heartbroken and devastated because I was like, oh, I have no one. Nobody cares about me in this world. There's not a single person in this world who actually genuinely cares about me now. And I was working at a hardware store that week when it happened. And this lady, this just very old Korean grandma, like in her 70s, comes in to buy kitchen cabinets from us. I've never seen her before. I just look down at her dog. I play with her dog. And then she just turns to me and she says, young lady, you're a really smart person. I want to give you a job. Can you come to my office on such and such date? I was like, I don't even know. I didn't even say hi to her. And she just comes up to me and says she wants to give me a job. I was like, what is this? You know? So I go there, and then I of course I don't have my resume in hand because I didn't know I was supposed to. She just said she wanted to give me a job. I didn't know I had to bring one, or I didn't even know how to write one. Yeah. And she goes, where's your resume? And then I was like, I don't have one. Okay, well, write one down right there. Just sit down and write it down for a few minutes. Here's a piece of paper. I was like, okay. I write it down, and then she's like, you didn't go to college? No. And then she tells me to go to college. I listen to her because she's a self-made millionaire. She was orphaned at 12 years old, and then in South Korea, right? Okay. Her father was never in the picture. I think maybe around like 18 years old, her sister caught her kissing an American boy and said, well, now that you've kissed this boy, you have to get married to him, you know, and be with him the rest of your life. So they got married, moved to the United States. She came here. That man died from some illness. And then she had 3 boys to raise. She started a business, and then she became a self-made millionaire.
Wow,
so I was like, I'll take her advice. I won't follow other people's advice, but I'll take her advice. And she told me to go to community college. And then she said, from there, you can pivot and apply to transfer to go to Harvard. She said, I know you're smart enough to go to Harvard. I didn't actually end up going to Harvard. I was like, this is not what I want to do. It's too much money, too much time. I just want to go to online school and finish my bachelor's degree in 2 years instead of 4. So I ended up doing a different route. But yeah, it was because of her that I ended up going to college.
Yeah. Do you know if she went to college?
She did. She got a degree from Lehigh University.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I was wondering why. Good advice by her, but I was wondering if she actually went to college while she was in the States to kind of say the value of education is clear. It's been part of my journey to becoming a millionaire.
Well, what's funny is we're not friends on Facebook, but I did check her Facebook post one time, and she had posted something about like an MBA program, and then she's like, "Who needs this these days when we have Google University?"
Really.
Yeah.
Not exactly the advice that she gave you, but
no.
Really. So, do you know what job it was that she had in mind for you?
Yeah, she wanted me to do her bookkeeping for her property management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she said I cannot do that without an accounting degree. What's funny is, though, I still don't have an accounting degree. I have a communications degree. And then last year she called me up. She's like, can you do my accounting for me?
Really?
Yeah.
That's
because
crazy.
that's what I do for work now. I do accounting for property management.
Okay. So this brings me on to a question. So again, just reading on you. So you got the communications degree, but you decided that you wanted to get a job in accountancy. So you didn't have the accountancy qualification, but you thought, I'm still going after this career. This is what I want to do. So you applied for a job and you got a job in 7 days.
Yes, that's right. So
which is incredible.
Yeah, because I'm really good with money. I have earned a low income for several years. You know, I can live on minimum wage, not ever ask my parents for money, and I can still save 25% of my income on minimum wage. Like I know how to do cash flow and manage a really tight budget and find every penny that we can save. So I was like, well, if I can do this, why can't I do it for a business? Isn't this like a really valuable skill? You know, it's like, why would I need a degree for this? I literally live it. It's just apply it on a larger scale for a business. And so when my husband and we moved from Texas to Boston, I was like, you know, this is a new life for me here. I'm going to make my mark on the city. I don't care what people say. I'm just going to do what I want, you know?
I love your attitude. I love that. It's infectious.
Why should I care what people say? Because this is my life.
Yeah.
Like, Paul, you don't pay my bills.
Yeah. But I love that because it's let's not say it's counterintuitive, but we live in a world now where people are so preoccupied with what people think. So I just wanted to say that, but please, I'm excited to hear the rest of your story.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you know, we all pass away and nobody's going to remember what I do or what I say, you know, like, or when everyone who is my age is 60 and 70, when I'm also 60 and 70, they're not going to remember what I did, you know? Yeah. They're too busy preoccupied with their own health problems or financial problems to even care about me. Yeah. That's my line of thinking.
No, I agree. I think that it's infectious that you have that attitude where if you want to do something, you do it because you want to do it, not because disregard what other people think or views are. Because invariably when people think that we shouldn't do something or maybe are slightly negative about what we're doing, invariably it's because they have a little bit of, they lack the belief to do these things themselves. So when they see somebody else doing something who's very confident, that just does things, even when the odds are stacked against us, they think, well, why are you doing that? Why? So I love the fact that you go with your intuition.
Yeah, I just go with it, you know? So yeah, so I applied to 50 jobs a day at that point. I was like, you know, because I also don't care who says no to me. The goal is to land one offer. Yeah, I know you love it. But you know, here's the thing. The goal is to land one offer. I don't need 10 job offers. I only need one. So I was like, okay, even if I apply to 1,000, if 999 say no and one says yes, is that not a success? How
It
is
is
that a failure?
success.
That's a success. It doesn't matter how many I apply to, just
Yeah,
I need one. So I applied to 50 a day, and I just said I'm just going to keep applying to 50 a day until somebody says yes to me.
yeah.
And so
I think,
after 7 days, a guy said yes to me. I said, "Okay, I'll accept the offer. I got the job." you know? Yeah.
because your objective is your objective, right? Doesn't matter how. It's like if we need to drive somewhere to get somewhere, it doesn't matter how we get there. You just need to get there.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay, so you go into accountancy, and I see the link with your book and your journey. So, a 5 day job search. So tell me about the book, how that came about, and I guess what you've learned in the process. Because I think with job searches, everybody can experience challenges with job search, and regardless of, I know that your focus group is millennials, but I think it's something that really can support people that aren't necessarily that demographic. Because I think searching for jobs, you can be. I was talking to somebody recently who was supporting somebody that was a CEO for a company, and money wise he was good, but he wanted to get another job. So because he'd been a CEO of a company for, I can't remember how many years, but say 15, 20 years, getting back into the job market and applying for jobs, that was pretty scary. Not pretty, very scary for him. So
Interesting. And that's coming
so
from a CEO.
yeah, so that yeah,
Wow.
it was a CEO, and he was, when I say very scary, it was very scary because when you're in a position where every day you're the dominant voice in your business, you're making the decisions, plus you're dealing with the challenges. That's your lane, that's your role. But when that finishes, then you've got to go back into a market where you kind of haven't engaged that maybe for 20 odd years. The power dynamic has shifted, and for him it had. And he needed significant coaching to kind of help him navigate the researching for your job, the kind of the presentation, the kind of just to give him the confidence that he needed, and also the skill, the practice to be able to engage interviews. Somebody asking him questions, not him asking them questions, although we should ask questions. There was a significant power dynamic shift. So I definitely feel that your book would support, obviously, the millennials, but I think there's groups beyond that that would benefit from understanding some of the schools and the skills and tools that we can use to really be successful in the job market.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's for everyone, but when we make a product these days, the business advice is always to,
Yeah.
first you have to focus in on a really specific audience. So
Mm.
while job search
Yeah. Yeah.
advice does apply to everyone, if you try to make it for everyone, people will be like, but it's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. So the book, what inspired you to put the book together? Was it your journey? Was it your experience of maybe challenges you'd experienced and some of the lessons that you learned that you wanted to put into a book to support other people?
I didn't want to write the book. I didn't want to do this project. I was trying to sleep one night back in November 2022. I couldn't fall asleep. It was like 1 a.m. and my mind was running. Like I can hear voices in my head again that say, you got to write your next book. These are like 10 different voices. It's not one voice, it's like 10 different ones, different attitudes and everything. And they're just like, you got to write your next book. This is what you got to put in the book, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to write this book. Can you go find someone else to write this book? And to my surprise, it responded back to me in my head that said, no, you're the only one who can write this book. Other people, they might be able to write this book, but they won't be able to market, promote, and sell the book like you.
Okay.
You have to write this book because we'll also help you sell it. I'm like, yeah, but I have to do other things. I have an accounting job. I also have an accounting firm that I'm building. Like, these are more important things. It's going to make me more money. No. Just put that stuff on pause and focus on writing the book. You know, and I was like, yeah, come back in the morning. I'm trying to sleep. And they would not shut up in my mind. So I just got up and I just started writing down everything that I heard. And then like for over the next 10 days or so, the things that I heard should go in the book. I just recorded it onto my iPhone with the dictation app, the recording app. And then I just turned those recordings into the manuscript. I use AI to transcribe it into like written format, and I turned that into the book.
Wow. So what was that experience like, putting a book? So I guess you've done books before, right? So you'd written.
Yeah, this is my second book. The first book was just a list.
You have some experience there.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of so you have the voices saying you need to put this book together. And was it why you said that you didn't want to write the book, but the voices trumped the sort of the negative voices, which were saying don't do it? What was the sort of the reason for putting the book together? Was it because you knew that there was a challenge in the market, there was a gap in the market, there was people that needed support?
I hadn't known that there was a challenge or a gap in the market. I didn't know of one. I just heard it, and they're just like, you have to do it. And they were so pushy. I have to tell you.
And it was this subject as well.
On this subject, yeah, they were so pushy about it. And then I was like, why do I got to write this book? Anybody can write a book about job search. Anybody can write a career book. There's so many career coaches out there who can help people with the resume. Like, I don't need to do this. Other people can do it for me. Like this isn't something I need to specifically do. They were just like, no, you're the one. Okay. And then there was at one point so after I got the script, like the manuscript, right? You have to edit it. Like I have a rough draft, but I have to revise it enough to give it to an editor, like polish it up enough, right? At least. And so I'm like in the process of like turning that rough draft into like something that's more polished to give to the editor. And I'm like working one chapter at a time, and I'm busy, I still have my work to do. So I try to do this when I can. And then there was at one point, 1 month later, after I had already dictated it, I'm working on it, but like I had no heat or hot water in my building. I live in a condo building. And then I was like, okay, well, looks like I have to go book a hotel or live somewhere else for a couple of days while they fix the heat and hot water. And so I do that. And then I hear in my head, well, this is your chance. You can't do anything else. You might as well work on your book. Okay. And then I was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. I just want to like laze around and do nothing and just relax. So I didn't work on it. But coming back on the 4th day, when we finally got heat and hot water, I sit down in the morning after eating breakfast. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working on my job, like my full-time work, not on the book, but on my job. And they're like, no, you got to work on your job. I was like, yeah, no. And my internet got cut off. Like, I suddenly had no Wi-Fi. I was like, why don't I have Wi-Fi? I walk outside and I see the internet provider. They cut some wires up, and I was like, did you guys just turn off my internet? Like, are you guys working on something? Yeah, we're working on something. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to let that from stopping me from doing my work. So I went to the library. I drove to the library, started working for 2 hours. And then next thing you know, the power gets cut off. I'm not kidding. Like the power, all the power in the library, we had a power outage. And then when the power came back on, the internet did not come back on. And then it was like, hey, we want you to work on the book. Like the one thing, if you have power but no internet, you can only work on one thing, which is your book. You don't need internet to work on the book. So I was like, I got like a huge push from, I don't know, the spiritual realm to work on this book. It's crazy. Yeah.
A chain of events were saying to you, whatever happens, you're going to work on this book.
Yeah. Even if I didn't want to, I got the push from no heat or hot water to no internet at home and no internet at the library. It was really crazy.
That's not just one sign. That is multiple signs that you had to work on the book. Yeah. And so just in relation to the book's for millennials, and it's 5-day job search. So can you maybe explain the significance of a 5-day job search as opposed to a 10? What brought you to that sort of ideology that we can actually be successful and do a 5-day job search?
Well, it's catchy, right? Who wants a 10-day job search when they can have a 5-day job search? And I'm sure you've heard of this book. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, right? And then you actually crack open the book and read the whole book. And he goes like, well, to be able to get to a 4-hour work week, you have to work extremely hard. and work more than 40 hours a week just to get to the point where you can work 4 hours. And you have to be able to delegate and set up all these different systems so other people do the work for you. And then people who were criticizing the book were like, this is too much work. The title is so misleading. And then I was like, well, the 5-day job search is the same. Actually, it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you are worthy of landing a job in 5 days, where you have the skill set, you have a really good resume, you have a really good LinkedIn profile, you have a great reputation. That takes time to build. But once you've built all of that, you can land a job in 5 days.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense. So you do the foundational stuff.
Yes.
Make sure you're good there. Once you've got the foundational stuff, then you're good to go.
Yes. You're set for life. Everyone will come calling you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're definitely going to put links to the book in the show notes. So what I wanted to ask you around now, because I'm super impressed with your YouTube channel and the way that you've just really got stuck into that and achieved wonderful things. I think you've got over 1 million views to this point, which is phenomenal. So YouTube branding, what's your sort of thoughts around that? How important is branding for you to be positioned as the branding expert using YouTube and similar types of platforms?
Well, I'm actually going to brand myself across multiple platforms, not just YouTube, but I always focus on one. I get laser focused on only one and building it before I move on to something else. So I built YouTube, but now can I build the podcasting platform or the TikTok platform? My opinion is like, for anything you want to do, if you want to be seen as an expert in your field, you have to be able to put yourself out there. Yeah. Like if you don't make content to showcase your expertise, nobody's ever heard of you. How can you, if you're so good at what you do, how come when I Google your name, nothing shows up? You're so good at what you do. Who are you? You know? So it is really important these days because before anyone wants to give you opportunity, they are going to look you up and research you.
Yeah. And I take your point. And I think we definitely live in an age today where people brand themselves experts without really having the credentials, not in every respect, but certainly in some. What I really love about you and what you do, you've kind of demonstrated throughout this discussion, but your ability just to dive in and not really to think about what other people think and to produce, good content. So in terms of YouTube, what was your approach to that? Was it similar to what you described sort of earlier in this conversation, that you just thought, this is what I want to focus on, and I'm just going to go and learn and produce lots of videos?
No, I was on the fence for a long time. I had wanted to start a YouTube channel for 4 years. But I always said, well, I'm not pretty enough, or like I don't have the right equipment, or I'm not qualified enough. Qualified as in like, here I am making minimum wage, working at Domino's Pizza. What right do I have to give financial advice on how to manage your money for other people? It wasn't until my husband was watching this video of a really hot woman talking about her $100,000 in student loan debt. And he was just like, oh, she's so hot. And then I'm reading the comments and people were like, oh, wow, she's so hot. But she's here like dispensing really bad student loan advice. And then I was like, how come people are listening to someone just because she's hot, not because like her advice is like really credible and good? And I was so pissed. I was so angry that people were following her just because she was hot. That I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own video. I'm going to tell people how it's done. Okay. So I made a video on how to save money on low income because she was making, get this, she was making $12,000 a month.
What, okay. From her YouTube channel?
From her YouTube stuff. She was an influencer. She was making $12,000 a month. She wasn't low income at all, but she was like complaining about her student loan debt and how it was so difficult to pay off. And then I was like, if I made $12,000 a month, I would pay those loans off in a year. I would live on practically nothing, live with a roommate, and I would pay those loans off so quickly. I'd move on with my life, right? But she had it for several years. She couldn't even pay it off. I was like, why are people listening to her? She doesn't deserve to give advice. So I was like, I've lived on low income for several years. I actually know how to make it work. And other people who are earning a low income, they shouldn't be following advice from someone who makes 12 grand a month and can't get her shit together. So I was like, I'm just going to make these videos, and be proud of the fact that I earned a low income and I was able to make it work, and I'll show other people how it's done.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I asked that question because I love your answer. So, but I guess that is the challenge with social media, that you will get people that don't have the knowledge or shouldn't really be giving advice in that particular area, but because they, I guess it goes to the, I guess it actually it raises an interesting question around that you might be able to provide the answer around branding, because she, I guess, where she was successful, maybe the advice she wasn't giving wasn't very successful, wasn't very, very useful, and potentially wasn't going to help a whole bunch of people. But where she probably was successful is her ability to brand herself as an expert.
Yeah, even though it was quite empty.
Yeah, and that's
like if she made videos, if she had made content about how to be an influencer,
yes,
that would have been okay.
Yeah.
But for her to make content about like how to pay off your student loans, I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Maybe we need to send her an email to say, look, I think your branding expertise on point, but the educational piece not quite there. So, okay, so you decide that you're going to produce content on YouTube. What was that like in terms of the journey? Were there mistakes? How did you deal with the mistakes? Were there successes? I guess there were, but talk us through that process.
Yeah, I honestly, the way I thought it would work is I would probably make one video a week and then do 100 videos, and each one would get better than the last. And like maybe someone would discover me at maybe video 115 or something like that and be like, wow, I never thought I'd find such good content. But the thing is, like, I made my first video on how to save money on a low income, like how to save $5,000 while earning minimum wage. And that just blew up. It yeah, it had no views, but then like after 3 months, for some reason, it got picked up by the algorithm. And then I was getting thousands of subscribers, and like that video got like 1 million views. And then I was like, yeah, I had no idea where that came from or how it happened. But I was like, okay, now this is a little scary, you know, because the first video was supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
It was a really bad production quality. I'm just a girl in my bedroom, literally you can see it's just me in my bedroom. And I have this lapel mic right here on my shirt, and I'm screaming into the microphone because I have no idea how sensitive the mic is. It's my first time using it. I had no idea how to test it or do audio stuff. I was just recording with my iPhone and the lapel mic, and people were like, girl, why are you screaming at me? And then I was like, because it's my first video, it's crap.
You know what? I think there's something charming about that. I think when people can really engage with people, where you see that they're at the start of their journey, but they're being really authentic. And I think what you definitely get from you, it's the first time we've spoken, but your authenticity really shines through. And I think that's important, because I think when you, obviously on YouTube, there's huge amounts of content. Some of it will be great, but there's obviously a lot that potentially you wouldn't spend huge amounts listening to. But I think if you come across somebody that is authentic and they really, really are them, then actually that does speak to us.
Yeah, but that's interesting because everyone keeps saying that about me over and over again. Like, oh, you're being so authentic. But like, how does one know that though? Like, how does one simply sense? It's a little weird, It's not something very tangible that you can like pinpoint and go like, see, that's authenticity.
I think it is. I think it is tangible, because I think when somebody is being themselves, they open up and they talk to you. I think you just get the essence of that. I think when somebody is maybe acting and maybe they're holding back, sometimes sometimes you can have a conversation with somebody and you sense maybe they're holding back a little bit and they're not really being, I guess, authentically themselves. I think it's just a feeling that you get. And I think as well, I guess just my take on it. I think when people are being authentic, they're not afraid to make mistakes. They just go for it. And that could be in a job, that could be in how they talk to you during a conversation. I think sometimes when we're trying to hold things back, are we being our authentic self? So that's just my sort of opinion on that.
Interesting. But the thing is, like, my whole perspective of mistake, it doesn't even register anymore. Like, if someone says, "Oh, I made a mistake," I don't even see it as a mistake. That's the thing.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I sent you an email, and you sent me a really nice email back saying around pretty much that point that if you make a mistake, you just move on because you know that there's another way, which is wonderful because that's kind of like the theme of this podcast, that mistakes are opportunities to do something different. We can change, we can pivot. It's information that we have now that we didn't have before. So we're sort of we're almost in a richer place in terms of what our next move is. Clearly, when we make mistakes, they can be different. They can be different in terms of magnitude, in terms of size. But I think ultimately, once we've digested whatever that situation is, then we have to move on because there is an opportunity. I will say Oprah Winfrey talks about when she makes a mistake, her job is to work out where's the opportunity in that mistake because there always is. So just getting into the branding piece, because I just want to conclude that area. So branding and yourself moving forward, clearly we're going to be seeing a lot more of you. There's going to be more YouTube videos. There's going to be more content. Where do you see yourself going in terms of, will there be more books? What's sort of your sort of journey looking like for you?
Yeah, I want to sell 100 million copies of the 5-day job search. Someone told me did I say 100,000? I don't remember what I just said. 100 million. 100 million. 100 million copies of the 5-day job search. And someone told me that it's not likely because even Harry Potter, not all the Harry Potter books have sold 100 million. Only the first one sold that many. And like, it took a long time to get there. But I think this book has potential. So I'm just going to do whatever it takes because I want to be able to prove to myself that, hey, maybe the reason people aren't successful at something is because they give up before they even like see the results. Maybe they try for 6 months and they try maybe 3 things, but did they try 100 things? You know, and whatever they did try, were they consistent with it, or did they try only once a week? They did it only once a week, whatever they're trying to do, and then they were like, "Oh, well, see, you know, it doesn't work." No, so I have a list of like 50 different sales and marketing funnels that I'm fleshing out. One of them is the YouTube. Another is the podcast touring. So that's why I'm guesting on so many shows.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, I'm already busy. But yeah, so I have 50. I'm just, slowly fleshing out all these different roads that lead to Annie Yang Financials, the 5-day job search. But, I'm not going to quit until I sell 100 million.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So are you very organized?
Yeah, of course I'm really organized.
Okay. I guess so, because to work, you've got the book, every podcasting takes time. You've got to source people that you want to be on their podcast, and obviously you do the YouTube videos. So you've got, I guess, a strategy to hit that goal. And I guess what will happen along the way, you're going to learn new tactics. You're going to learn things that potentially you don't now. As we're talking now, in 6 months' time, you would have learned different things that are going to help you go and get closer to your goal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've already learned so much. I found out some of these shows that I got on with the host. I got on shows where like the guy's a self-made millionaire, or like another one was the CEO of a company, founder and CEO of a company that employs 200 people and like revenue is 200 million a year. And then I was like, why are you having me on your show? I should be learning from you. You're more successful than me, you know? Yeah, I got on shows with people who like book artists in the entertainment industry. So after I got on the show, I was like, hey, before you go, let me pick your brain for a moment. I see you have like featured on Fox and NBC, ABC logos on your site. How do I get those logos on my site? You know, so like whenever I get on a show with a host, if I see something that I'm like, I wonder how they did that, I use that opportunity to ask them, how can I do it too? Okay. So I do learn as I go.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good tip for me and everybody listening, watching, that we should lean into our curiosity and always ask those questions, because although he's done his expertise or their expertise, they've done things which have, I guess, been successful. We can always learn from everybody. The day that we think that we can't learn from the next person, I think, is a day that we are in trouble a little bit. I think most successful people always ask questions like you. So I think you're on a good path. So just in terms of how people can find you, locate you, where's the best place for people to find you?
Best way to find me is by visiting AnnieYangFinancial.com. That's ANNIEYANG financial.com. And I have a special offer for the listeners today. If they want to grab a signed copy of the 5-day job search book, then head over to AnnieYangFinancial.com, add the book to your shopping cart, and use the coupon code FAILURE, FAILURE, for a 10% off discount on the signed paperback copy.
Amazing. And they just won't get this amazing offer. They will probably get the job that they're going to develop all these skills, and their job searching is going to be quicker and less painful, because the job searching process, if we don't know it, can be a painful one. So they're going to develop all these skills as well. So I think that's a lovely, generous offer. Also, I would suggest that people subscribe to your YouTube channel, because you've got a wonderful YouTube channel. You've got, how many videos have you done today? Have you got any idea?
I think 110 at this point. Okay. But actually, I'm getting censored and shadow banned on YouTube. I have, because like what happens is I make some videos. My channel has been like growing without even me posting videos. I could go a whole year without posting videos, which is what happened last year, but it still grew anyway because of the past videos. But lately, I've been getting back into uploading videos, and what happens is I'll hit the 18,300 subscriber ceiling, then I lose 20 or 30 subscribers, then I regain them back, of course, but then I lose another 20 to 30. And like this happened 3 times where I lost 20 to 30, so I keep hitting a ceiling. I don't know if like YouTube is unsubscribing people, but I do say some controversial stuff because I talk about student loan debt, you know, and
that's not controversial though, is it?
It's not, you know, people would agree with what I have to say, but it goes against what the mainstream media says about Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. You know, mainstream media is like all for whatever Biden is doing with student loan forgiveness. And I'm here telling people, hey, why don't you get a better paying job and pay it off quick rather than sitting here waiting for the government to do something about your problem? And
but that's good for the government, because it's encouraging people to get good paying jobs, which is going to help their economy, right?
You might think so, but sometimes there are hidden agendas as well.
Well, I hope that you're not shadow banned and you see those subscribers. It might be just a glitch in the algorithm, because I know that some people, I have heard of other people as well, that hit a certain number and then their subscribers and so forth can sort of disappear at times. So hopefully that the algorithm sorts itself out and you sort of see that continuous growth. I do have a last one remaining question, which is it's the recurring question. So if you could invite 3 inspirational people to dinner, they could be a liable past, who would you invite?
I would invite Alexander Hamilton, Samuel Adams, both of them are dead, and Peter J. Daniels. He's a self-made billionaire.
Okay.
From Australia. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So definitely send a copy of your book to the billionaire. He might be able to maybe put you in touch with his network so you can achieve your 100 million book sales. So I've got my fingers crossed. But
Okay.
Annie, it's been amazing talking to you. I love your energy. I'm excited for what you're going to be doing in the future, because I know that you're going to be achieving great things and wonderful things. And I love that single-mindedness approach. It's very infectious.
Thank you for having me on your show, Paul. Really enjoyed it today.
It's been fantastic. Fantastic. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of My Perfect Failure. Always looking to grow the show. So please do share this episode far and wide, particularly if you know anybody that is looking to really skyrocket their job searching experience and really find that dream job that they've got in mind. Please do share this episode with them. And your feedback is most welcome. We're keen to hear about the things you like and equally the things you don't like. So you can find me at paul@myperfectfailure.com, or you can find me via the website. So take care for now. Bye.
Thanks for listening to My Perfect Failure podcast. Be sure to visit www.myperfectfailure.com to join the conversation. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google Play. Look out for our next episode.